Episode 19 of Whole Lotta Wolves Season 6. I'm Joshua Buckley alongside co-host Paul LePage.
Hello.
We got Danny on the socials.
Good to be back.
And joining us from Boca Raton, one of our favorites, Teddy Eley. How's it going, Teddy? You're on mute. You're still on mute.
My bad. I was saying
that's okay.
Before, at least the Bears are 10-4.
Yeah, the Bears are in first place. Maybe.
I think 1 out of 2 for teams I support this season, I guess. But,
yeah, well, it's something. Paul, I'm no expert, but usually when a team's players outscore the other team's players 3-0, they win the game, not lose 2-1, like Wolves did against Arsenal. 2-1 loss where they scored all 3 goals. You kind of have to laugh to keep from crying, right?
It certainly was very Wolvesy. If there's a way that you're going to go down at the league leaders, then 2 own goals, one of them in the last minute or so of stoppage time even. Yeah, when he looks out, certainly he's out.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Teddy, we have the talent disadvantage already. But then now we've got the bad luck to go on to it. Just absolute disaster.
Yeah, I feel like we've had the bad luck for quite a while now. But yeah, the talent disparity. I mean, to be fair, that was maybe the most happy I've been watching a Wolves game in the last few months. I don't know if you all agree, but it was a promising display at the very least. So I guess we got that to go on.
Danny, were you happy watching that game?
No. But I was spending the entire day preparing for a holiday party, and that was like the moment that I finally didn't have as much to do, but I was still cleaning the house while it was happening. So I was happy to be off my feet for part of it.
Cleaning house. If only Wolves would do the same thing, which we will talk about later. But let's get back to the match. Paul, there was a little bit of change there in the lineup. Doc came back in. How do you felt he did?
Yeah, overall pretty good. I think, again, considering the status of the opponents away from home, I think both wing backs kind of knew their role. They weren't going to be bombing on each time or joining the attack, so it kind of suited Doc pretty well, I think. And Molineux was up against it for sure with Saka down there, right? But for large parts of the game, he looked pretty solid as well. But just when it is that defensive, that's all you can ask for. You're on mute, Josh. Mute, Josh. You're muted.
Man, it's one of these days. Oh,
These Chicago Bears fans, like
Paul and Danny, we spent an hour talking, so you guys
can't work the technology now. They're so giddy with a 10-win season.
It's true. It's true. Yeah, because since the Bears have been this good, phones weren't present, cell phones weren't present. So another one who entered in the lineup was Hwang Hee-chan, Teddy, and he had a chance to make it 1-0 in the first half. Seems to me, though, you could just see the lack of pace Wolves had because he had just straight away, and Arsenal caught up quick to that.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably, if you look at the attackers, though, I mean, I think you'd probably say he's the fastest one on the team currently. And yeah, I mean, the fact that I guess he did kind of outrun everyone, but yeah, it's just, as we've talked about before, just a severe lack of pace and kind of talent in the wings and forward position. But yeah, I mean, overall, him and Strand Larsen I just had a tough time with such little possession. But yeah, I mean, if you're playing on the counter attack, you need those fast players to hit, and then with both wing backs as well. There was no one that fast on the field, so that was kind of the best we could muster, I guess.
Danny, speaking of JSL, I don't even think I heard his name once in the first half. Like, this is getting to be a serious problem.
Yeah, he was pretty absent. I mean, I remember hearing about him a bunch when he was clearing corners from Arsenal. You know, it's a continuation of the problem that we've been seeing for weeks now. Part of it is definitely the whole team's ability to get him the ball, but he's also just not he's not making himself a problem. We'll get on to Tolu later, but it's just, you know, I still think that Strand Larson is probably a better overall striker, but when you just look at which one of the two would the center backs of our opposing teams prefer to be against, I think there's no question at this moment, because, you know, Tolu seems to actually give defenders problems, whereas Strand Larson just doesn't.
Yeah, completely agree there. Well, it was 0-0 at halftime, and for a little bit there in the second half, and, you know, starting to think, wow, great defensive performance. And really it was. I mean, let's be honest here. Wolves did not allow an Arsenal player to score, but it was 1-0 after the 70th minute when Saka went for an Olympiaco, and it hit off the crossbar and then off Sam Johnston's head. Now, Paul, the commentators said Johnston has to do better with that. What were your feelings? Was that just dumb luck, or, yeah, does he need to do better?
A little bit of both, you know. He did get a touch on it, I suppose, that could be could factor into it. You did get the bad luck of it. He couldn't do anything about where it came from, but it just seemed to me, you know, that it's a constant now with Johnson, that it definitely seems like he's targeted for being 2 or 3 inches too short. That you're getting these balls coming into the box. He's never going to claim the majority. You know, you've got a chance that he might come and miss like he did the other week. You got a chance that he could, one of his punches could go awry, go somewhere else as well. So it just really said to me, with those 2 goals, pretty much back to back within a few weeks of his errors, that I would rather have Jose Sarr, because he's better in the air slightly. Shot stopping, I'd say, is probably on par. I think the amount of errors that Johnson gives up, considering he's supposed to be the better keeper with his feet, I'd rather have Jose Sarr twatting it out of play for like a throw-in over the halfway line than just have that constant worry that, ball's coming into a box. We're going to be a threat from our attacker and a threat because of our own goalkeeper.
Twatting it out of play. I love you, Paul. All right, so 1-0. Things aren't looking good. Finally, though, a little bit of hope, and it came late after Matthias Mane and Tolu Arokadare came in. Those 2 were already playing like gangbusters. And then just a perfect cross from Mane to Tolu. Strong header in there. 1-1. Away crowd's going nuts. Seeing limbs. Looking like, hey, we might get a point out of the Emirates. What was going through your mind there, Teddy, when that goal went in?
Yeah, again, as I said before, it was like, I mean, maybe the first time I think in like 3 or 4 games we scored a goal, and the first time, and especially against such a tight defense that Arsenal has, I was like kind of pumping my fist, actually excited for Wolves that, you know, we have a chance, we might tie this game, and then I actually really love the reactions from that, like the celebrations, like you saw for Lopez and Tolu and Matthias Mane, kind of all going to the fans there. There was like kind of a really sweet moment that, like, there's still, you know, some hope for this season. It was definitely a feel good moment for me.
Now, Danny, I know you really liked seeing just Mane's emotion when he was out there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just not something, I don't know. It's like every single goal that we've had this season feels like so dour. It's, come after like we've already given up 2 to Leeds or something, and like the emotion from those goals just doesn't hit in the same way when it's a player having to pick the ball up and run it back to the line, or or conversely, like we're playing an awful game, and then someone like Strand Larson scores and then sort of like picks it up with that like sort of defiance at the crowd that was not on his side previously. It's just, I don't know. There's always a caveat to these moments of joy, but with Mane involved and the celebration that he showed right after, I mean, there's not much better than that. A kid making one of his very early sort of moments in the Premier League and providing an assist at the Emirates. I'm not. We'll probably get onto it. I can't call for him to start every game. He's a kid. He still needs to be eased into it. But we need more moments like that, regardless of who it comes from.
I'm actually going to bring it up now, Paul. If you are Rob Edwards, do you start Tolu and Matthias Mane this next match?
Yeah, I do. I'm an advocate right now of that 4-2-3-1, especially at home. And I think even if you are that lost cause and you're going down, I'd rather have a team start to mold in his shape for next year and bed in that type of formation, unless there's some real drastic changes with playing 3 at the back and 2 wing backs. It would probably result in 2 brand new wing backs that you need. So if you've not got the players for it, just stick to 4 at the back, and let's have some more attacking intent. You could see exactly what happened from the goal was that there were players in and around the box, and they're able to keep it going. And even like Arias is knocked down for Mane, it's because players are in and around the box in that final third where they could do some damage. So is he going to play that formation and probably get smacked a few times this season? Yeah, so what? But what's the worst that's going to happen that hasn't already happened? I'd rather us go out all guns blazing and lose 4-3 in the hope that you're going to win a couple, 2-1 or 3-2, or have some excitement about it. So I think that's it as far as formation wise goes. I still think he'll be a little hesitant of starting Tolu based on really, I think, kind of massaging JSL's ego as like the number 9 and the man last year. Even though he's been far from it, I think he'd be a real kick in the teeth to him if he got dropped. And you don't know what his reaction would be off the back of that as well. If it was sulking around a move falling through to Newcastle, what's this going to do as far as that goes? So I could kind of see him copping out of it, which I think would be a shame, but I could see him saying, well, we'd maybe like to start Tolu, but he's not 100% yet. We like the option off the bench, blah, blah, blah. So I'd like to see it happening. I can't necessarily envision it.
Well, my thing is, how long does it take Tolu to get 100%?
Yeah.
He's been here since September now. We're in December. What is the like one of those slow phone chargers, or it goes up 1% every like 5 minutes? Even that. And you know what? JSL needs a kick in the teeth, guys. He's just not there. And he hasn't been there since the Newcastle stuff. I get it. Still a young kid. He's got to grow up. And he's got to grow up fast, because at this rate, nobody's going to want him. Oh, you want to play in the EPL? Yeah, sorry, buddy. Nobody in the EPL wants you. You're going to be playing in the championship next year. So,
I mean, counterpoint, maybe he gets sold in January.
Yeah.
And like for that reason, you could make the argument there's only a couple more games before January that you're actually protecting him in terms of his fitness, JSL that is. you know, his value is not going to be higher in the summer if Wolves are relegated, which looks, you know, virtually certain at this point. And a team that, you know, is outside of it, but struggling for a striker. Like, I mean, I'm sure that fans will not enjoy seeing him go to West Ham or something, but like, if you could get a lot for you in the championship, so
I'm still saying Tolu Orokadare for the Golden Boot next year in the championship. Teddy, we are used to following losing teams that the season's gone pretty early, and the most important thing is got to develop the player, the young guys, got to develop the quarterback. I almost feel like that's the case here with Matthias Mane. Okay, Wolves, we're going down. Got to develop him. He's got to start turning into the guy. So when we get in the championship next year, he's going to be a true impact player. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean that's definitely important. I mean, again, as we've seen in the past, you don't want to throw him in the deep end too quickly and don't provide any help. But I would also say it's not just him. It's players like Fer Lopez, if he stays, Rodrigo Gomez. Like there is like a base of a squad and young players that Wolves have that they can kind of develop and be around. So yeah, I think it's important. Rob Edwards, important for him to first kind of instill his playing philosophy, whether that's 4 or 5 at the back, kind of how do we want to attack the rest of the season, and then just kind of getting players comfortable with their positions, kind of who they're going up against. Like I love that moment of Mane kind of running right at Saliba, kind of right at the beginning, just kind of injected some positivity into the side. So it's taking, I still think, kind of baby steps versus throwing them in the deep end is probably the approach based on kind of what we've seen in the past. But it's definitely important. As I said, like there are the makings of a quality young side, youthful side, but let's just be smart about kind of how they're developed.
Throwing them in the deep end is more of a technical term, really. So, look like, yay, Wolves might get a point at Arsenal. It's not 3 points, but hey, great performance. And then Gabriel Jesus, who has not played in the EPL for a long time, comes off, gets a Saka great cross. It looked at first like it went off Jesus, and it's like, yeah, of course it would. But then you can see the replay. Nope, it was another own goal, went off Mosquera, who, bless his heart, was just absolutely devastated. And I did feel bad. You could tell like he genuinely cared when that happened. Danny, I don't know if you were laying out the cups for eggnog then or not, but just tough way to lose.
No, sadly I was still watching. Fairly devastating. Also, I mean, it's not really his fault. I mean, he can do better. The cross needs to be closed down better. That seems to be a common theme in a lot of the goals we've conceded. But it's not his fault we're losing 2-1 of the Emirates. Not alone anyway. But yeah, it's so tough to see, especially, I mean, a couple minutes earlier, we were talking about the celebrations with Matthias Mane. Yerson was one of the first ones over to him when they were celebrating, and like clearly understands that I think there's like a something to be said for this, is like, if there's anything to take out of this game, probably not much, to be honest, but like all of these players have been where Matthias Mane was at one point in their lives, and like that'll mean something to them, even if it has nothing to do with like avoiding relegation or anything. Like seeing that kid having that moment, that's going to bring the players joy, even if nothing else during the 90 did.
So, Paul, you've been watching football a lot longer than me. Have you ever seen a team outscore another team 3-0 and lose 2-1?
I don't think so. It's, as I say, it's Wolvesy. It can only be us. It was bordering on Craig Dawson nearly scoring a hat-trick of own goals comical from last season. So,
oh man. Well, Teddy said that he had a lot of happiness watching the game. How about you, Paul? Did you feel like this is something to build off of, or just fuck this season?
Yeah, it just had that hint of inevitability about it throughout. Even I was just waiting for that early goal from the opponents, just thinking it was Arsenal at home. Okay, that didn't come. They looked pretty strong. Got to half time. Oh, okay. But then I will give them credit that even though we went a goal down, their heads didn't drop and they carried on attacking. That they took the game to them. And I was surprised with an equaliser and celebrated it like we were actually competing for something for a change. But even then, it's like the way this season's going, it's like they're not. They just haven't been geared to close it a game out for 3 points or even one. So that winner sadly had an air of inevitability about it. Whereas in prior seasons, that used to be us, that we'd get the equaliser with a few minutes to go and we'd be in a chance with winning it, let alone trying to cling on for a point. So can you take a few positives? Yeah, like Joe Gomez was immense. I think covered every blade of grass. I'd probably be. I think Andre's probably looking himself in the mirror and thinking, "What the f have I done?" Like being here, just chasing for the whole game, just clearing everything in his path. He'd be the type of player that you would think that, given any type of move to a mid to upward Prem team, especially on the eve of the World Cup, he'll be off at the earliest opportunity. So you forget Bellegarde didn't start as well. He's out injured for 6 weeks. Lack of creativity across the board. So is there something to cling to? Yeah. Can we build on some of that? I think with the likes of Mane and Fer Lopez and just trying to get some creativity, we can do. And I think it just comes back to, being a little braver and trying to have a go now.
Well, that was the big story for the week, was the game. But probably the bigger story of the week, Jeff Shee came out of hiding. And Lordy Fosun was probably wishing he had stayed in hiding, because as much of a dumpster fire as we figured it would be, it was worse. I'm going to read some of these quotes from the interview that he had with the BBC, with Mike Taylor, and I'm going to have you guys comment on them. The very first one, Teddy, was he said, about the finances and boardroom personnel, it's the best I've seen the last 10 years. Keep in mind, this is a guy who gave a contract extension to a guy that he fired less than a month later. What are your thoughts on it's the best he's seen in 10 years?
Yeah, I mean, he probably has two coaches' payouts. He's still kind of paying on the payroll, and I guess for soccer, the accounts are always like 1 year in the past, so we won't see him for another year or so. But yeah, I guess selling all your best players for the last 3 years for £50 million each, that'll kind of do it. I'm sure the balance sheet is looking pretty good, and as he said, it seems like everyone employed will keep their jobs in relegation, so we can only hope that that's the case. But yeah, I'm glad we're winning the balance sheet awards. So.
My favorite quote, Danny, was this one. I'm not an expert, but maybe we sold too many players in one window. Now, was this the same guy who said that he felt there were essentially too many cooks in the kitchen, so he needed to be more involved in such things as selling and recruiting players? Now, well, guys, I'm not an expert.
Yeah, it's baffling, honestly. I mean, the whole thing is, and I'm probably going to digress here, and I don't really care, but it's just like this guy is so bad at PR. I mean, just like communications, and I've listened to all the podcasts that have recorded before us, and a lot of people have paid some lip service, as I will, to English being a second language, but it can't go further than lip service. I mean, the guy has been in place for 10 years at Wolves, And for someone with as much money as he and Fosun have, I have to believe that there are English as a second language, specialists or teachers in the UK who can help him communicate better. And I'm not saying that glibly, to say that like, oh, this foreign guy had better learn English in order to, like appease the fans. But it's like as executive chairman, which is what his role is, um, part of your role is communicating to fans. And if you are incapable of doing that, I just don't. What are you even doing? You know? And so the whole, like I'm not an expert. One, as executive chairman, your job is also to hire the experts. You know?
Exactly.
If you feel that this is the best group of people that you've had in 10 years, that obviously excludes to a certain extent the people who were in place when we had the window that we just had, including Domenico Teddy and Vitor Pereira, both of whom were hired by Jeff Shee. Also, the window, I'm sure, may have been influenced by Matt Hobbs, even though he was gone by that time. Another person that Jeff Shee hired ostensibly. Like these are, or at least, was in charge while he was hired. I was like, these are all decisions that are stemming from you. And we heard in the in-house interview that he did, the classic good window line, that, oh, we are all working with Vitor. The purpose of the window is to help the coach. And so the whole time, Domenico, George Mendes, even myself, are sending him players. Sometimes I'd send him players and, push for him. He's saying that stuff in the in-house interview, to fans. This is explicitly for fans. It's on the Wolves YouTube page and nowhere else. Who is going to look at it but fans? And then to come on here and say like, well, I'm not an expert, but maybe we sold too many players. My guy, you are in charge of hiring the experts and also of how many players you sell in a window.
He literally said he was taking more charge because he felt like there weren't people doing a good enough job.
Yeah, it's just baffling. And I think like the last thing I'll say so we can move on is just like going back to those Jackie Oatley comments that we talked about on a previous show. Like the thing that the fans want is clarity of communication from either him or Fosun about their intentions, about their plans for the future. And you have to give him some kind of credit for doing the interview in the first place, because I feel like that is part of the, sort of reason for the protests is, the first demand on that list has to be Jeff Shee has to speak. Maybe Jeff Shee has to leave. Maybe Fosun have to leave. But like the lack of clarity in anything that he said is it's just a constant with him, that nothing that he says can be taken at face value or even makes sense on the first pass. And that's why an interview like this doesn't help him move the needle on, like his own standing among fans.
And you mentioned it not being his first language. I would counter that Chinese businessmen of big companies like Fosun probably have a better command of the English language than some Americans or Brits do. And he's been in England for 10 years dealing with mainly either Portuguese or English-speaking people. So I definitely hear what you're saying, but no, I'm not giving him slack on that. And then there was the chef's kiss comment, Paul. I feel relegation or staying up is kind of a technical word, just as I feel people try to emphasize its importance or not. Of course it's important because it will incur different revenues for 1 year. But in the meantime, inside the club, I feel it's not as serious, I can't even say it without laughing, as some views from outside, or that which the league we play in next season will be such a weighty thing for us. Paul, you've gone through the relegation thing that some of us haven't. This has to be just the absolute slap in the face.
It sounds like he's been jilted with but by an attractive lover and ended up with a fat cousin, and he's trying to justify it that it's still the same. Again, it comes down to comes down to communication skills, comes down just to pure lack of knowledge, understanding, any empathy with the fans, the city. Like, I'm sure that idiot just thinks that the whole world revolves around those 4 stands at Molineux, where the impact of relegation is just snowball effects all the way out of it. Less people coming into the ground, less stewards, less concession stands, less servers in the pubs because they don't have the demand on a match day. You know, it just goes on and on and on. And for a hardworking, blue collar, not very affluent city that Wolverhampton is, that football club is probably its heartbeat on every other Saturday for that city, and the fans that feed into it and pay into it, and that'll chip away and that'll have massive knock-on effects. So just the way he spoke to that made my blood boil, to be honest. It just you find it very hard. You try and be professional, but when he comes out with stuff like that, it's very hard not to get an extreme dislike for the individual.
Yeah, I just want to tack on to this that, like I said, communications is part of his job. You know, if Wolves could interview for a new executive chairman, one of the main competencies that they'd be looking for is communications. How well can you communicate with fans? And when you say these things, you completely betray any idea that you can sympathize with the way that sports fans think. You know, for some people, this is going to be, you know, devastating to them in a way. I'm sure that is like completely illogical, and that's what it means to be a sports fan. But I think that there's more to it than that, even, which is that, like, he's also distancing himself from the players and the coaching staff. You know, saying that there's, you know, not going to be layoffs is one thing, but like the coaching staff could be reduced. The players also, I mean, like, just like in any other job, you know, like, this is going to affect their lives for maybe their entire careers. Like, these, like, relegations have consequences, even if, like, I think that what he probably meant, the sort of generous reading, is like, it doesn't really change things in terms of Fosun support. The amount of support and monetary, you know, resources that they're willing to put into it don't change. Business as usual. It doesn't matter, like, to these players who now have a relegation on their CV, and also maybe like can't get a move away and have to play in the championship, you know, like, that means something in terms of making it to the World Cup or getting the next move. And like, this is a job for them. This is their workplace. And it won't make sense to them. You know, like, it will not do him any favors with them. It certainly hasn't done him any favors with supporters who obviously, like, don't want to see a relegation for any reason. It's such a silly, unnecessary thing to say.
It's completely tone deaf. And Teddy, I mean, Fosun very clearly feels they want to build the brand. They want to build the... Outside of England, I don't feel anyone is going to become a Wolves fan now that they've dropped to the championship.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you're big in the esports scene in China, Josh, but I think we might get a few fans there. But yeah, just kind of going on a similar segue to what Danny's been saying. Something he touched on a lot, and that's kind of big in China, is the 10-year plan or the 100-year plan. So I'm looking at Wolves. They've been owners for 10 years now, and obviously we had that great run into the Europa League, 2 7th place finishes in the Premier League. Like, everything's great. But again, you take the bigger picture, 10 years later, looks like there'll be a championship club. The stadium's, pretty dilapidated, still using a temporary stand. You look at the, Wolves woman team, for example, like that issue they had last season. They don't really have the support there. You look at the academy, it's been, category A, but there have been talks about possibly, moving down to category B, and you're not seeing too many players come up from the academy. So, you look at all the parts of a club, and I just don't see how. Yeah, in the past 10 years, like I just don't understand how he views that as a success, and then kind of what do the next 10 years look like? Because it doesn't look like he's really hitting any of those checkpoints so far.
Well, in his defense, he comes from a country that their biggest thing they're known for, the Great Wall of China, took over 2,000 years to build. So, hey, maybe this 10-year plan is going exactly as planned, guys. Also, I am surprised he didn't pull out this quote. Time does not exist. We invented it. Time is what the clock says. The distinction between the past, present, and future is only stubbornly persistent illusion. That was actually Albert Einstein that said that too. Paul, do you have any more stronger feelings that do you think that let me put it this way, did that interview make any change for Fosun at all?
In the worst possible way for the fans would only be if he was forced to do it. In that they said, Jeff, you got to try and do something. So up he pops, does something, and says to his bosses, well, I did an interview. That should keep him straight for a little while. Whereas just the backlash just needs to double down. It really does.
Just mind blowing. Danny, do you think there's any truth to the rumor that Jeff Shee is behind the scenes trying to talk to different content creators and fan groups to get people on his side? And if so, why has he not reached out to us yet?
I can't. I'm honestly offended that I haven't gotten a phone call. I am a very cheap date. I'm sure that he could buy my silence in any number of ways. Not least appoint me some, consultant for communications or something. And I'll just tell him to not speak in public ever again. I don't know. Yeah,
Maybe
I don't
you
know.
can be his translator. What Jeff meant to say.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know what to think of that one. I don't know. It's like everything with Wolves these days. I have to keep caveating by saying, like, I can't put anything past him at this point. I mean, like, it's ridiculous, but also it feels entirely possible with a kind of loopy person like him. I have no idea what goes on inside his brain. And this is probably as good a time as any to shoehorn this in, but as this whole interview was kind of an own goal, to use that old metaphor, I'll return to your question about the number of own goals in a game, which I quickly looked up. So the actual record, the 31st of October 2002 saw two teams in Madagascar playing against each other in the Madagascar League. AS Edema 147 to SO Le Mans 0 is because it was part of a pre-planned protest against poor refereeing decisions. So they just kept putting the ball into their own goal.
What year is this?
2002, and it ended 147 to 0.
Wow. Well, that'll affect the point differential when it comes to promotion early.
But in terms of legitimate games that, like, actually, were being played competitively, apparently Stan Van de Beys scored a hat trick, as it were, but of own goals in 1995, playing for Belgian team Germinal Akeren. Put 3 goals past his own goalkeeper, handing the game over to their opponent Anderlecht with a 3-2 win.
Oh.
So that might be more similar to Jeff Shee's performance.
My God. Can you just imagine walking into that dressing room after scoring a hat trick of own goals and losing because of it? Oh, man. I may retire on the spot. I just probably wouldn't even gone back into the dressing room and just walked off. Well, guys, there is a game Saturday. It's at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central. It's 10 a.m. Fort Lauderdale time, not 11. Just want to make sure all the Fort Lauderdale people know what time. Teddy, you agree, right?
Yeah, I've been confused. Yeah, I've been an hour late to the games, I think. But I made it on time this one, so yeah, excited.
So it's a return to Molineux for their head coach, Keith Andrews, the former midfielder who came through the ranks. It's his first season. And after some question the appointment, Paul, the continuity of an internal hire after Thomas Frank has actually been a pretty good idea. They're 14th on 20 points. However, no win in their last 3, and they're coming back on a 1-1 draw at home to Leeds. So they also have a Caribou Cup match midweek playing at Manchester City. Do you think this bodes well for Wolves to maybe finally kind of get a win?
No, it's Wolves. And we've always done.
Ball's killing me tonight.
There's always these bogey teams coming up against us, like Brentford at home, like we never seem to do anything. Crystal Palace at home for Rob Edwards' first game. He might have something special about him. But bring Crystal Palace into town and we'll scupper any of those dreams. So it's just got something not very good destined to happen, I feel.
Now, Teddy, I'm sure you know the term slump buster. Do you feel like Wolves these days are a slump buster, or are they a get right team?
Yeah, definitely a get right team. It's kind of like the Browns were this past weekend. Obviously, I'm gonna be a little bit optimistic and think we do get our first win of the season. But yeah, I mean Brentford's a strong team. I think they're losing a couple players to AFCON, which might hurt. But yeah, they've got a lot of pace. They got Igor Thiago, who's been scoring a ton, and yeah, they're. I thought at the beginning of the season, they might be one of the 5 or 6 teams kind of in the relegation mix, but yeah, they're definitely proven that they have a good club structure, owner that supports them, and kind of know what they're doing as a club. So I wish we could say the same thing about us.
Paul, do you know what a slump buster is?
Does it happen at the end of a night when the lights go on in the club?
Close enough. You are close enough, sir.
Charity FC is the translation.
Bravo. I am proud of you, Paul. Well, one guy who will be there is Tolu Arokadare, because while Agbadu went off to AFCON, Danny, Tolu did not. Seemed like a bit of surprise to me. Was it to you?
Yeah, I would say a mild surprise. I thought that, fans gave him hell for his performance last window, and it wasn't great, but I think Nigeria were pretty dysfunctional. So, I don't know. I didn't really feel like he warranted all the focus of their ire. But yeah, he seems to have lost his place to Paul Onuachu, formerly of Southampton, scorer of one of the world's worst hat tricks ever.
Not all own goals though. So.
Not all on goals. So better
So
than one at least.
The worst hat trick.
Yeah, second worst hat trick in history. So yeah, he's gonna be around, and that can only be a good thing because Strand Larson certainly isn't firing it, and even if he were, having 2 players for a position is better than having 1 player for a position. And on that, I'll point out that Jackson Chachua also missed his call up for Cameroon. That seems to have been sort of a political thing. They have a new head coach. There may have been 2 different rosters that got put out at one point. And it seems like they've gone with all these, like a lot of players who are born in Cameroon. Whereas like all the players who had formerly played in Belgium, like Chachua and Andre Onana, missed the call up. So there seems to be some sort of power struggle going on with them. So I wouldn't really look into that. He usually starts for them. And of course, the other notable one is Marshall Monetzi, who will not be going with Zimbabwe because of his injury. There's a bit of weird political thing with the Monetzi put out something saying like, "Oh, I'm sorry to miss this AFCON. So sad because I'm injured, blah, blah, blah." And then the Zimbabwe Federation said that they had wanted him to come, but Wolves would have to sign a waiver, and they never did because it's all for insurance purposes, obviously, if he's injured. And Munetzi put out something else sort of refuting that. So unclear. But anyway, he'll be around. I don't think that he would have had any chance of playing given his timeline at AFCON because Zimbabwe, I don't think will make it to the later stages. And so the only players who are going are Tawanda Trelo with Zimbabwe and Emmanuel Agbadu, which is kind of a bummer because he's actually been starting to play kind of good with Ivory Coast, of course.
I am stunned that there is political backroom drama with teams in AFCON. Never saw it coming, guys.
Never a dull day. I mean, honestly, AFCON and CONCACAF, we should have like an inter confederation cup or something because the drama would be off the charts.
Who's going to be the first AFCON that quits this World Cup coming up because they didn't get paid?
Well, I mean, last AFCON, wasn't it that Ivory Coast won it and they had fired their manager halfway through the tournament?
Yeah. So they lost all their group stage games, I think.
And remember, Ghana almost didn't even play a third group stage game in the last World Cup because their players went on strike because they hadn't been paid. Just God bless AFCON. So with that said, obviously it says a lot about our recruitment that we thought we were going to get screwed during AFCON, and surprise, none of them got called up. That's great. No shock. Teddy, we heard Paul saying how he'd handle Tolu and Mane. Would you start them as well?
I probably wouldn't start Mane. Yeah, have him come off the bench. I would start Tolu. I think Danny touched on it earlier. It's definitely, providing that physical presence. I think, the team that keeps possession and works the ball around and, plays better football. I think Strand Larsen's a better fit there, but especially against Brentford, I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of long throw-ins, a bunch of set pieces. Just kind of going up against former Wolves boy Nathan Collins in the back. That was, big center back. I think, I think we do want that physical presence. So I would start Tolu up, but yeah, keep Mane, kind of bring him on the last kind of 20 or 30 minutes if needed.
Paul, with Agbadu out, would you start Santi Bueno or would you move Krejci back to center back, where I think we all agree is his better position?
He was pretty anonymous, I thought, in a 3 on Saturday against Arsenal. And if you're going to go that rigid with those 3 defensive midfielders, certainly at home, you've got to try and switch it up and have a little more output from somewhere. So I'd probably be inclined to bringing him back in. Probably at that center position out of the 3 that he can pick up the ball, maybe advance it somewhat and try and pick out a pass or bring the wing backs into play.
All right, let's look at predictions here. Paul, look at you. 2-1 Arsenal win. You get 3 points, and suddenly you're off the bottom of the table. Guest spot still has, they have 7, tied with Alex, who also has 7. Danny, you've got 10. Paul's nipping at your heels at 9, and I've got 15 points. So, Teddy, what are you looking at this week?
I really want to say we'll get the first win of the season, but again, I think that's just me being too optimistic as well. We've played 15 games so far and don't have one, but I'm gonna do it for our guest team, and we're gonna go with a 2-0 win.
2-0 Wolves win?
Wolves, yeah. Just say.
Somebody check out. I need a wellness check on Teddy. Bring your fiance back. She needs to check your temperature. 2-0 Wolves. Wow. Danny, you've got 2-0 Wolves too, right?
3-0 Wolves. I see your 2-0 and raise you.
I thought I was the one that filled this half with whiskey. Holy cow. What eggnog are you guys drinking tonight?
I'm drinking leftover wine from from a recent party that I
Okay.
mentioned.
Okay. Paul, you're normally Mr. Positivity when it comes to the predictions. Are you going to say 4-0?
Ooh, now you're tempting, but it's a rollover in the Powerball again. So that's gone to like $1.1 billion. So I'm going for 2-1 again, Wolves.
2-1 Wolves.
What if mine comes true and it's a Nathan Collins hat trick of own goals?
Oh, that would be amazing. If you had $1 billion, Paul, would you buy Wolves?
No way.
Lose all his money pretty quick there.
Yeah. Because they'd be like, oh, he has $1 billion now. Go get, go get Mbappe. Man, you guys are throwing me all off.
Bring us down, Josh.
I was gonna pick Wolves, but I
Give
don't
us a
feel
loss.
yeah. 1-1 draw. I've moved it up to a draw. 1-1 draw. Now they're gonna lose 3-0 because we have
Yeah.
I'm gonna blame you guys.
No stupid questions, everyone. That time of the show where you, the listener, get to ask us anything about the wonderful club that is Wolverhampton Wanderers. Do that by emailing hello@wholelotofwolves.com, via the form on our website, or on the socials. You can reach us on X at WLW Watching now in the live stream on YouTube, drop a no stupid question in there, and if we've got time, we'll add it on in at the end. So first up, last week's guest, Chris Fisher on X, asks if Jeff Shee was a villain in a Nintendo or Sega video game. Keeping with the affection of esports, he adds, who would he be and why? Any takers there out of you gaming nerds?
I'll take that. It's got to be Dr. Robotnik, right? Because he's nothing unless he's in his little thingy shooting around. And he's kind of a clown, hence why he's played by Jim Carrey in the series. I say Dr. Robotnik.
Yeah, this is tough. I mean, there's no one who really captures the sort of the weaselly nature of Jeff's words. I immediately thought of the, like, I don't know what they're called, like the Koopa cousins or whatever in Super Mario World, where they're not even the head one, they're just there to annoy you. Because I mean, like, I'm gonna make this more serious than it needs to be, but like the main point of clarity that I did not get from his interview is like, where are things his choice versus Fosun's? Like, he mentions having a plan, but it's like we still are not clear on if he just says like, hey, here's my plan, and they just say, okay, that's fine, you have a plan, like, I don't care. Or if the plan is handed down to him, in terms of spending or any other thing. We have no clarity on that. So yeah, I'm going to go with some sort of secondary level boss or something.
Next up is Drew Freakin on X. He's got the following list: Jeff Shee, Tom Cruise on Oprah, drunk Joe Namath trying to kiss Susie Kobler on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, I just want to kiss you.
Alonso Mourning on Jim Rome, or any Gary Busey interview. Rank the most cringe to least.
I feel like with the Jim Rome one, it shouldn't have been Alonzo Mourning. The correct answer was Jim Everett, who he kept calling Chris Everett, and then Jim Everett jumped across the table to beat the ever-living snot out of Jim Rome. That may be the only thing that I would put ahead of Jeff Shee's interview, because drunk Joe Namath, a little creepy, but really, I mean, that was more of self-damage. And Gary Busey, bless his heart, dude got in a motorcycle accident without a helmet. I mean, he can't help himself. So it's Jim Rome versus Don't Call Me Chris again, Chris Everett, and then Jeff Shee.
If we're talking pure cringe, it has to be Tom Cruise. Jeff Shee is more...
I'm in love with Katie Holmes.
Jeff Shee is inscrutable. I just kept thinking, like, I know that they, sort of released it separately, but like, I imagine you're like a Blues fan or a Villa fan listening to that and just being like, what the hell is this guy talking about? Like, none of these answers are answers. And like, sure, you might get a slight laugh out of like Wolves ownership being dumb or whatever, but it's just like, I don't know, for Wolves fans, it might be infuriating, but for any other listener to BBC WM, what do they think? They're just like, what is this guy talking about? like, has he ever watched a game of football, let alone like help to construct a team to play it? So yeah, in terms of pure cringe, I can't ever get past out of Tom Cruise jumping on the couch. That's not even debatable.
I've never seen the Tom Cruise one, but I guess got my
you need to watch it. This was back.
You don't need to watch it.
This was back when he was engaged to Katie Holmes. I think it was before they got married.
Something
and like jumped on the couch and was jumping up and down. I'm in love with Katie Holmes. I'm in love with Katie Holmes.
Our friend Brian Donnelly on X, he's getting seasonal and asks if Jeff was visited by 3 Christmas ghosts, who is he seeing and what lesson is he learning? One of them's got to be Nuno, hasn't it?
Do they have to be dead yet?
Would Nuno be the ghost of Christmas past, I guess?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, the Christmas past one would definitely have to go back to the Fabio signing, right?
Could well do, yeah.
No, it's got to be like a bad choice he made in the championship. I mean, and it's not like, like Zenga, like it's not like there were only good choices made in the championship. So.
Paul, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think you've unfortunately he's got a lot that he could potentially visit. I'm thinking along the lines even of like Vitinha. It's like what might have been.
Oh, did you see Trincao is like for EA Sports, he was named for on their team with the cards for like overcoming adversity.
Oh, wow.
And he's like one of the top cards in the game for that. And it's like, I mean, his adversity was playing at Wolves.
I saw the Wolves game of the day was when we beat Brighton away 1-0.
Yes.
And that was the forward line consisted of Trincao, Adama, and Podence. It's like, what would you do for any of them right now, even?
Yeah. I know. I used to, I wouldn't say I disliked Podence, but I felt that he was, a person that I wouldn't mind us selling because he was too erratic. Honestly, just get him in to square up to people a foot taller than him. That's all I want at this point.
He would not put up with this relegation shit. I can tell you that.
He would have hit one of our own players. Yeah, God.
I would say I feel like Domenico Tetti is kind of the ghost of maybe the future, just because of all the poor decisions he made and the players that we're stuck with and gonna have to be dealing with for the next 3 years. I think he might be a bad call there.
And maybe Hobbs is the ghost of Christmas future.
Yeah,
to show what could have been.
Yeah, he's sitting there wearing a Crystal Palace shirt.
And finally, Wolves Women podcast on X, they ask, it's the Black Country Derby on Sunday. We would hate it if you forgot to mention it. Danny, do you want to give a clue as to what that's about?
Yep. Black Country Derby coming on Sunday. Wolves Women always in fine form against West Brom. And honestly, a real shining light in this difficult season as a Wolves fan. They just had their first loss in seemingly forever, but it was in the cup against a team the tier above, Forest, who recently got promoted from our division. And they gave a good account of themselves. I think if anything, they gave them too much respect. in the early stages of the game. But otherwise, unbeaten season so far. And if they were to win this game, they would go top of the league because this is a rescheduled game from previously, I believe. So, yeah, many reasons to tune into that one. Check the Wolves women's socials to see the time, but obviously, like many Wolves fans from abroad, I experienced the games by listening to the capable commentary of Matthew Ponter on the Wolves TV / Wolves app.
That's this week's No Stupid Questions. Remember, keep them coming ahead of next week. hello@wholelottofwolves.com or on X at WLW Pod.
Teddy, before we go, there is the rumor now that Wolves may be going after Adama Traore in January. Are you as excited about it as me?
Probably not as excited as you, but yeah, just anything to inject some, pace and life into the team and give us a reason to watch the next 2 games without being masochist would, I think, be welcome. So,
and if Adama ends up in January and somebody wants to watch that game with you, where would they go?
Yeah, I mean, make sure to give me a heads up as I guess I'm not games are a little tougher to get excited about these days, but yeah, usually we'll go to the Lion and Eagle pub in Boca Raton, so you can find me there. Yeah.
And you are in Eastern time zone, is that correct?
Well, we're in Eastern time zone, but again, just depends on when the Greater Fort Lauderdale sponsorship is is advertising when the game is.
Fort Lauderdale's in its own time zone.
Yeah,
Clearly.
We go up 30 minutes actually compared to Eastern, like Arizona or whatever.
Thanks to Danny on the socials, Alex producing, and you, our audience, as we put this together for you. It'd be doing us a huge favor, helping to grow the Whole Lot of Wolves pack by giving us a 5-star review or thumbs up or whatever you can on that podcast platform that you use to listen to us on, or by heading over, if you've not done so already, subscribing to the Whole Lot of Wolves channel on YouTube, liking our content on there, and also dropping us a comment. So we're going to be back next Tuesday next week. That's going to be a Christmas Eve stream. And, if Jeff Shee is on Santa's naughty list and will be getting coal in his stocking, you should all stay on Santa's nice list and up the mighty Wolves.